I realized on my third day, I wasn't hired for my skills. I was hired because I look exactly like his dead wife. Before we get into the story, kindly subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment where you are watching from. The security camera footage didn't lie. Lily paused the video on her phone, her finger hovering over the screen. There she was, walking through the lobby of Cole Industries 3 days ago, her first day. Black blazer, hair in a tight bun, confident stride. She watched herself enter the elevator, watched the doors close. Then she scrolled back, way back. 5 years and 2 months, according to the timestamp. A different woman, same blazer, same bun, same stride. Lily's stomach dropped. The woman in the 5-year-old footage turned toward the camera just before the elevator doors closed. Her face was clear, unmistakable. The resemblance wasn't just similar, it was uncanny. I found the footage on my third day. Lily's voice would later explain in interviews. That's when I knew. I wasn't hired for my MBA. I wasn't hired for my references. I was hired because I look exactly like Elena Cole. But on that third day, standing in the empty break room at 2 a.m, Lily didn't know what to do with the truth. She only knew one thing. Richard Cole had been watching her all week like a man seeing a ghost. 3 days earlier. Rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Cole Industries' executive suite. Lily Rivers stood in the marble lobby, briefcase in hand, trying to ignore the way her reflection stared back at her from every polished surface. The building was a monument to wealth and control, sterile, cold, perfect. She'd been hired as Richard Cole's personal assistant after a single phone interview. No in-person meeting, no background check beyond the basics. Just a voice on the phone asking about her availability, and an offer letter in her inbox 6 hours later. The salary was extraordinary. The opportunity, once in a lifetime. The red flags, abundant. But Lily needed this job. After 2 years of unemployment and a mountain of student debt, she couldn't afford to ask questions. The elevator rose silently to the 43rd floor. When the doors opened, Richard Cole was standing in the reception area, hands in the pockets of a charcoal suit that probably cost a fortune. He froze when he saw her. Not a polite pause, not a professional acknowledgement. He froze, like a man who'd just seen something impossible. "Miss Rivers?" His voice was smooth, controlled, but there was something beneath it, something raw. Lily extended her hand. "Mr. Cole, thank you for this opportunity." He stared at her hand for 3 full seconds before shaking it. His grip was firm, but his fingers trembled slightly. "Welcome to Cole Industries." He released her hand and turned sharply toward his office. "Emily will get you oriented. I have calls." He disappeared behind frosted glass door before Lily could respond. Emily, the office manager, appeared beside her with an apologetic smile. "Don't take it personally. Mr. Cole is particular about new hires." "Does he always interview people by phone?" Lily asked. Emily's smile faltered. "He doesn't usually interview people at all. HR handles that." "But he interviewed me." "Did he?" Emily's expression shifted, not suspicious, but curious. "That's unusual." The first day passed in a blur of orientation, paperwork, and learning the complex ecosystem of Richard Cole's schedule. He ran a private equity firm with investments in everything from tech startups to real estate. He was worth $3 billion. He worked 16-hour days. He never took vacations, and he hadn't been seen with a woman in 5 years. Lily learned that last detail from Emily during lunch. "Not since his wife," Emily said quietly, glancing toward Richard's office. "Elena, she died 5 years ago, car accident. He hasn't been the same since." Lily set down her fork. "That's terrible." "He was devastated. Still is, I think. He threw himself into work after it happened, built the company into what it is now, but—" Emily trailed off. "But what?" "He's never moved on. There's a portrait of her in his private office, fresh flowers delivered every week. He still wears his wedding ring." Lily looked down at her salad, something cold settling in her chest. That afternoon, Richard called her into his office. She entered to find him standing by the window, back turned, shoulders rigid. "I need you to organize my schedule for the next quarter," he said without turning around. "Cancel anything non-essential. I want to focus on the Meridian acquisition." "Of course, Mr. Cole. And I'll need you to attend the charity gala next Friday. Take notes on potential investors. I'll be there." He turned then, and the look in his eyes stopped her breath. He was studying her face, not professionally, not casually, but desperately. like he was trying to solve a puzzle that had no solution. "You're 5'6", he said suddenly. Lily blinked. "Yes." "Left-handed?" "Yes." He looked away, jaw clenched. "That's all. You can go." Lily left the office, heart pounding. She didn't understand what had just happened, but she knew it wasn't normal. Day 2. She started noticing the small things, the way Richard's eyes followed her when she walked across the office, the way he flinched when she handed him his coffee, the way he stood too close, then pulled back like he'd been burned. During a meeting with investors, Lily sat in the corner taking notes. Richard was in his element, sharp, confident, commanding the room. But twice he glanced at her mid-sentence, losing his train of thought for just a moment before recovering. After the meeting, one of the investors lingered. "Your assistant," the man said, gesturing toward Lily. "She looks familiar. Have we met?" Richard's expression went cold. "No, she's new." "Huh, could have sworn." The investor shrugged and left. Richard didn't look at Lily for the rest of the day. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She lay in her apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction. The phone interview, the lack of background check, Richard's reaction when he first saw her. At midnight, she opened her laptop and typed, "Elena Cole." The search results loaded instantly. News articles, obituaries, society page photos. Lily clicked on an image gallery from a charity event 6 years ago. Her breath caught. Elena Cole had been beautiful. Dark hair, warm brown eyes, elegant features. She was photographed laughing, dancing, standing beside Richard with his arm around her waist. Lily clicked through the photos, her hands shaking. Same height, same build, same facial structure. She opened another tab and pulled up her own driver's license photo, held it next to Elena's picture. It was like looking at a before and after shot. Different hairstyles, different clothes, but the bone structure, the eyes, the shape of the face, almost identical. "Oh my God," Lily whispered. Day 3. Lily arrived at the office early, determined to act normal. She wouldn't confront him. She'd do her job, collect her paychecks, and keep her distance. But at 8 in the morning, Richard called her into his office. He was standing by the window again, hands clasped behind his back. "I owe you an explanation," he said. Lily's heart jumped. "Mr. Cole, you don't... I hired you because you look like my late wife." The words hung in the air like smoke. Lily stood frozen, briefcase still in her hand. Richard turned to face her. His expression was haunted, exhausted. "I saw your resume photo. I had to meet you. I had to see if it was real." "So this whole job thing is real," he interrupted. "You're qualified. Overqualified, actually. But yes, the resemblance was why I pursued you specifically." Lily felt anger rising in her chest. "That's not okay." "I know. I'm not her. I know." His voice cracked. "But God help me, when I look at you, I see her. And for a few seconds each day, I forget she's gone." Lily stared at him, torn between fury and pity. "This is manipulative." "Yes. I should quit." "You should." He sat down heavily in his chair, suddenly looking older than his 42 years. "But I'm asking you not to. I'll double your salary. I'll give you equity. Just stay." "Why?" Richard looked up at her, and for the first time, she saw the full weight of his grief. It was suffocating, endless, a black hole he'd been falling into for 5 years. "Because I'm drowning," he whispered, "and you're the only thing that feels like air." Lily stood there for a long moment, mind racing. This was wrong, toxic, unhealthy. She should walk out. She should report this to H, pack her bags, and never look back. But when she looked at Richard Cole, brilliant, broken, desperate, she saw something else too. She saw someone who needed help. "I'll stay," she heard herself say, "but we need boundaries, professional boundaries. I'm your assistant, nothing more." Richard nodded slowly, agreed. "And you need to talk to someone, a therapist, someone who can actually help you." "I've tried." "Try harder." Lily's voice was firm now. "Because I'm not your grief counselor, Mr. Cole. I'm not your second chance. I'm just someone who happens to look like someone you lost. And that's not enough to build anything on." For the first time since they'd met, Richard smiled. A small, sad smile. "You're nothing like her, you know." "What?" Elena was quiet, soft-spoken. She never challenged me. He looked at Lily with something like respect. "You just told me off in under 2 minutes. She would have never done that." Lily felt something shift in the room. "So maybe you don't need a replacement. Maybe you just need someone who won't let you drown." Richard held her gaze. Maybe. They settled into an uneasy routine after that. Lily did her job with precision, managing schedules, coordinating meetings, handling the 1,000 small crises that came with running a billion-dollar firm. Richard kept his distance, professional and courteous, but the weight of the unspoken truth sat between them like a third person in every room. Until the night of the charity gala. Lily wore a simple black dress, elegant but understated. She arrived at the venue, a historic mansion converted into an event space, and immediately felt out of place among the glittering crowd of Manhattan's elite. Richard found her within minutes, Miss Rivers. He appeared at her elbow, impeccable in a tuxedo. "You look—" He stopped, swallowed, didn't finish the sentence. Lily knew what he was seeing. Elena in a black dress. Elena at a gala. Elena alive. "Shall we get to work, sir?" she said firmly, pulling out her tablet. They moved through the crowd together, Richard introducing her as his assistant, Lily taking notes on potential investors and partnerships. It was professional, controlled, until someone called out, "Richard, is that—" An older woman approached, her face pale. She stared at Lily like she'd seen a ghost. "Margaret," Richard said tightly, "this is my assistant, Lily Rivers." Margaret, who Lily later learned was Elena's aunt, couldn't stop staring. "The resemblance is extraordinary. We should circulate," Richard said, already moving away, but the damage was done. Lily saw it in the glances, heard it in the whispers. By the end of the night, everyone was talking about Richard Cole's assistant, the woman who looked exactly like his dead wife. That night, Lily sat in her apartment and did something she'd been avoiding. She opened the Cole Industries employee portal and navigated to the security archives. She'd been given administrative access as Richard's assistant. She shouldn't be doing this, it was a bit violation of privacy, possibly illegal, but she needed to know. She found the footage from 5 years and 2 months ago, typed in Elena Cole's name, watched the videos load. There was Elena entering the building, laughing with colleagues, walking beside Richard, his hand on her lower back, living. And there was Lily, 3 days ago, doing the exact same things. The resemblance wasn't just physical. Somehow, without trying, Lily had adopted the same posture, the same gestures, the same way of tilting her head when she listened. How is this possible? She didn't stop. She found Richard's wedding video, uploaded to the company archives for some reason, watched Elena say her vows. "I promise to stand beside you, to challenge you, to love you through every storm." Her voice, low, warm, with a slight rasp, Lily's voice. She slammed the laptop shut, heart racing. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't chance. Richard Cole hadn't just hired someone who looked like his wife. He'd found someone who was his wife, or close enough to make him believe in ghosts. The next morning, Lily confronted him. "Did you manipulate me?" She stood in his office, door closed, hands shaking with anger. "Did you, I don't know, somehow influence the way I walk, the way I talk?" Richard looked up from his desk, confused. "What?" "I watched the footage. I sound like her. I move like her. That's not natural." Understanding dawned on his face. "You think I, what, brainwashed you?" "I don't know, but something's not right." Richard stood, crossed to her. "Lily, I hired you because you look like Elena, that's all. Everything else, the mannerisms, the voice, that's just horrible coincidence. Or maybe," he paused, "maybe I unconsciously mirrored those things back to you, made you feel like you needed to act a certain way." Lily felt tears burning her eyes. "This is so messed up." "I know." He looked genuinely remorseful. "I'm sorry. I never should have done this." "But you did." "But I did." He stepped back, maintaining distance. "And now we're here, and I don't know how to fix it." Lily wiped her eyes angrily. "You can't fix it. You can only decide if you're going to keep using me as a band-aid for your grief, or if you're going to actually deal with it." Richard was quiet for a long moment, then, "I'll call my therapist today, set up regular appointments." "Good. And I'll transfer you to a different department if you want, or provide a reference if you want to leave entirely." Lily considered it. She should leave. This whole situation was toxic, unhealthy, destined to end badly. But when she looked at Richard, really looked at him, she didn't see a manipulative billionaire. She saw a man who'd lost everything and was barely holding on. "I'll stay," she said quietly. "But things change. No more ghosts, no more comparisons. If I'm going to work here, you need to see me." Richard nodded slowly. "I'll try. For the seconds." Gick isn't time. That small, sad smile crossed his face. Elena never gave me ultimatums. I'm not Elena. No, he agreed. You're not. And for the first time since they met, when he looked at her, Lily thought maybe, just maybe, he was actually seeing her. For 3 weeks, things were different. Richard kept his promise. He started therapy, twice-a-week sessions with a grief counselor in Midtown. He stopped staring at Lily like she was a ghost. He removed Elena's portrait from his office, though Lily suspected it now hung in his penthouse where no one could see. He started calling her by her first name instead of Miss Rivers. And slowly, carefully, they began to build something that felt almost normal. A working relationship based on mutual respect rather than resemblance. Richard consulted her on business decisions. Lily challenged his assumptions. They debated, disagreed, and somehow, in the process, became something like friends. But Lily felt something else growing too. Something dangerous. She was falling for him, not for his money, not for his power, but for the man beneath the grief. The one who stayed late to mentor young entrepreneurs, who donated millions anonymously to cancer research, who laughed at her terrible jokes when he thought no one was watching. She was falling for Richard Cole, and she hated herself for it, because when he looked at her now, she still couldn't tell. Did he see Lily, or did he see Elena wearing Lily's face? They're week 4. The photo was taken on a Thursday. Richard and Lily were leaving a client dinner at a restaurant in Tribeca. It had run late, past midnight. Richard's driver was stuck in traffic, so they decided to walk the 3 blocks back to where the car could meet them. It was a mild October night. The city hummed around them, alive with possibility. You were brilliant in there, Richard said as they walked. The way you pivoted when Marcus brought up the valuation concerns. I just pointed out the obvious, Lily interrupted, which is exactly what I pay you for. He smiled at her, a real smile, not the sad one. You're wasted as an assistant, you know. You should be running deals. Maybe someday. Maybe soon. They stopped at a crosswalk. Richard's hand brushed hers accidentally, and neither of them moved away. For a moment, they just stood there, hands touching, the city swirling around them. Lily, Richard said softly, I need to tell you something. Her heart raced. What? A flash, then another, and another. Richard jerked back, eyes scanning the street. A man with a camera stood across the intersection, lens pointed directly at them. Shit, Richard muttered. The photographer ran as Richard moved toward him. The light changed. By the time they crossed, he was gone. It's fine, Lily said, though her stomach churned. It's just one photo. Richard's expression was grim. One photo is all it takes. He was right. The photo appeared online, 6 also. Hours later, it was on page 6 by morning. By noon, it had been picked up by TMZ, Daily Mail, and every gossip site in between. The image showed Richard and Lily standing close, hands touching, gazing at each other. The headline read, Billionaire Richard Cole's New Love or Ghost from the Past. The article was brutal. Sources close to Cole Industries confirmed that the woman in question is Lily Rivers, 29, Cole's personal assistant. But here's where it gets weird. Rivers bears an uncanny resemblance to Cole's late wife, Elena, who died 5 years ago in a tragic accident. Is this a touching love story, or something far more disturbing? They dug up photos of Elena, posted them side by side with Lily's driver's license photo, which someone had leaked. The comparison was damning. One employee, who spoke on condition of anonymity, claims Cole hired Rivers specifically because of her resemblance to his deceased wife. It's like he's trying to bring her back, the source said. It's not healthy. By afternoon, the story had evolved. New sources emerged, each with more salacious details than the last. Rivers allegedly pursued Cole aggressively, using her resemblance to manipulate the grieving billionaire. Friends worry Cole is being taken advantage of by a woman who saw an opportunity and seized it. Is Lily Rivers a con artist or just a woman in love? The truth may shock you. Lily sat in her apartment, phone off, laptop closed, trying not to vomit. She'd called in sick. The first time since she'd started. She couldn't face the office. Couldn't face the stares, the whispers, the judgment. A knock at her door made her jump. She looked through the peephole. Richard stood in the hallway, still in his suit from work, looking exhausted. She opened the door. You shouldn't be here. The press. I don't care about the press. He walked in and she closed the door behind him. Are you okay? Am I okay? Lily laughed bitterly. The entire world thinks I'm some manipulative psycho who's exploiting a grieving widower. So no, Richard, I'm not okay. I'll fix this. I'll release a statement.
You'll what? Tell everyone the truth? That you hired me because I look like your dead wife? She felt tears threatening. That'll make it so much better. Richard flinched. It's not like that anymore. Isn't it? Lily turned away. When you look at me, who do you see? Silence. That's what I thought. Lily, you should go. Her voice cracked. Before someone sees you here and makes it worse. Richard didn't move. I see you. What? He stepped closer. When I look at you now, I see you. Not Elena, not a ghost. You, the woman who called me out on my bullshit. The woman who makes me laugh. The woman who... He stopped, jaw working. The woman I'm falling in love with. Lily's breath caught. Don't what? Don't say things you don't mean. Don't make this harder than it already is. I mean,
Richard's eyes were intense, desperate. I know the timing is terrible. I know the optics are impossible. But Lily, somewhere along the way, you stopped being a reminder of what I lost and started being the reason I want to live again. Lily felt tears spilling down her cheeks. Richard, I should have said it sooner, before all this, but I was scared. Scared you'd leave. Scared I was betraying Elena's memory. Scared that what I feel isn't real because of how this started. Is it real? Lily whispered. Richard reached out, cupping her face gently. I've never been more certain of anything. He kissed her then, soft, tentative, asking permission. Lily melted into it, 5 weeks of tension and confusion and undeniable attraction finally breaking free. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Lily rested her forehead against his. The world is going to crucify us. Let them. Your company can survive a scandal. I can't survive losing you. Lily pulled back, studying his face. You really see me, not her? I see you, Richard said firmly. Lily Rivers, left-handed, brilliant, stubborn as hell. Terrible at making coffee despite working in an office for weeks. Hums while she works. Cries during insurance commercials. Nothing like Elena at all except for the face. And even that doesn't matter anymore. A laugh bubbled out of Lily, surprising them both. Insurance commercials? The one with the widow and the policy payout. You were sobbing at your desk. It was very moving. Richard smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. See? Elena never cried at commercials, just you. Lily kissed him again, deeper this time. When they finally broke apart, she said, This is going to be a disaster. Probably. We could both lose everything. Worth it. You're insane. Completely. Richard pulled her close, and for the first time in weeks, Lily felt safe. But I'm not doing this without your consent. If you want to walk away, I'll give you everything I promised. Severance, references, whatever you need. But if you stay, we face it together, Lily finished. Together. She thought about it. Really thought about it. The media would be relentless. Her name would be dragged through every gossip column. People would call her a gold digger, a manipulator, a fraud. But when she looked at Richard, she saw something worth fighting for. Okay, she said. Together. They tried to keep it quiet. For 2 more weeks, they maintained professional distance at the office. No touching, no lingering looks. Lily arrived and left at different times than Richard, but the media had already decided the narrative. More articles appeared, each one worse than the last. Exclusive, inside Lily Rivers' past, failed relationships and mounting debt. Psychologist weighs in. Is Richard Cole being manipulated? Elena's family speaks out. This is a betrayal. That last one hurt the most. Elena's sister gave a interview calling Lily a cheap imitation and accusing Richard of disrespecting Elena's memory. Lily read it alone in her office, door closed, fighting tears. A knock. Emily entered without waiting for permission, closing the door behind her. Don't read the comments, Emily said. I'm not. Liar. Emily sat down across from her. Listen, I've worked here for 8 years. I knew Elena, and I've watched Richard these past 2 months with you. Lily looked up. And Elena would have wanted him to be happy. She was kind, Lily, the kindest person I ever met. She wouldn't have wanted him to spend the rest of his life alone, grieving. But I look like her, that's weird? Sure, but coincidences happen. And here's what I know. Richard's been different since you got here. Lighter, more present. He laughs now. He actually leaves the office before midnight. Emily leaned forward. Whatever started this, and yes, it started weird, what it's become is real. I see the way he looks at you when you're not watching. That's not a man seeing a ghost. That's a man in love. Lily wiped her eyes. The press doesn't care. The press never cares about the truth. They care about the story. Emily stood. So stop letting them write it. Tell your own. That evening, Richard called an emergency board meeting. Lily wasn't supposed to attend, but Richard asked her to be there. They need to see us together, he said. See that this is real. The boardroom was tense. 12 board members, all wealthy, all concerned about the company's reputation. The scandal had caused stock prices to dip 3%, not catastrophic, but enough to worry investors. Richard stood at the head of the table, Lily beside him. I know why we're here, Richard began. The press has painted a picture of manipulation and deception. I'm here to tell you the truth. He explained everything, the hiring, the resemblance, his initial motivations and how they'd evolved. He was honest, unflinching, leaving nothing out. I made a mistake, but he said. I hired Lily Rivers for the wrong reasons, but what's happened since then is something I never expected. I fell in love with her, not because she reminds me of Elena, but because she's exactly who I need. Someone strong enough to call me out, smart enough to challenge me, and brave enough to stand beside me, despite everything. One board member, Thomas Ward, spoke up. With all due respect, Richard, this is a PR nightmare. We're hemorrhaging investor confidence. Then we rebuild it, Richard said firmly. But I won't do it by pretending this didn't happen or by distancing myself from Lily. She's not going anywhere. You're willing to risk the company for a relationship? Another member asked. I'm willing to risk everything, Richard said, looking at Lily. For the right person. The room fell silent. Finally, Margaret Hillman, the oldest board member and a close friend of Elena's family, spoke. I knew your wife, Richard, and I think she would understand. Not the beginning, perhaps, but this, she gestured between him and Lily, this kind of courage. Elena would have respected that. The tension broke slightly. Not everyone agreed, but enough did to avoid a vote of no confidence. As they left the boardroom, Richard took Lily's hand in full view of the board. No more hiding, he said. The next morning, Richard released an official statement through the company's PR team. I hired Lily Rivers because she resembled my late wife. It was wrong, and I take full responsibility. But what began as an attempt to ease my grief has become something far more meaningful. Lily is not a replacement. She is her own person, brilliant and strong, and I am falling in love with her for exactly who she is. To those who question her motives, you don't know her. To those who believe I'm betraying Elena's memory, Elena would want me to be happy. I choose to move forward with honesty and with Lily by my side. The response was immediate and divided. Some praised his honesty, others called it a publicity stunt. The tabloids had a field day. But then something unexpected happened. A TikTok video went viral. It was posted by a user named @GriefCoachMaria, who had 3 million followers. She was a therapist specializing in grief, and she'd read Richard's statement. Let's talk about Richard Cole, she said in the video. Everyone's calling him manipulative, but as someone who works with grieving people every day, I see something different. I see a man who made a mistake in his darkest moment and then did something most people never do. He got honest. He went to therapy. He owned his actions. And here's the thing about grief. It makes you do illogical things. It makes you grasp for anything that feels like comfort. That doesn't make you evil. It makes you human. The video got 12 million views in 24 hours. The narrative started to shift. More people came forward, grief counselors, widows, widowers, people who'd lost loved ones. They shared their own stories of irrational behavior, of seeing their lost loved ones in strangers, of the desperate need for connection. Suddenly, Richard and Lily weren't a scandal. They were a story of healing. But not everyone was convinced. 2 weeks later, Lily received an email. The sender was anonymous, but the content was clear. You need to see this. Attached was a video file. Lily's hands shook as she opened it. The video was security footage from Cole Industries from 5 years ago, before Elena's death. It showed Elena and Richard in his office. They were arguing. Elena in tears, Richard pacing. I can't keep doing this. Elena's voice came through tinny but clear. You're married to this company, not to me. That's not fair, Richard said. Isn't it? When's the last time we had dinner together? When's the last time you remembered my birthday? I'm building something for us, Elena, for our future. We don't have a future if you're never present. Elena grabbed her purse and left. The timestamp showed it was 3 days before her accident. Lily felt sick. She forwarded the video to Richard immediately. He called within minutes. Where did you get this? Anonymous email. Richard, were you fighting with Elena before she died? A long pause. Yes. You never mentioned that. Because it doesn't matter. We had fights like every couple. That doesn't change. It changes everything. Lily stood pacing her apartment. The whole world thinks you lost this perfect love. But what if you were already falling apart? What if hiring me wasn't about grief, but about guilt? Lily, no. What if I'm not a replacement for Elena? What if I'm your do-over? Your chance to get it right this time? That's not, isn't it? Lily felt tears streaming down her face. Answer honestly, Richard. When you look at me, are you seeing the woman you loved or the woman you failed? The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I don't know, Richard finally whispered. Lily's heart shattered. That's what I thought. She hung up. For 3 days, they didn't speak. Lily went to work, did her job mechanically, and left without seeing Richard. He respected her space, sending only one text. I'm sorry, you deserve better than my uncertainty. Take all the time you need. Lily spent those 3 days thinking, really thinking, about Richard, about Elena, about herself, about what she wanted versus what she deserved. On the 4th day, she found something. Elena's aunt, Margaret, had reached out via email asking to meet. Lily almost deleted it, but something made her respond. They met at a quiet cafe in Brooklyn. Margaret was in her 70s, elegant and kind-faced. She ordered tea and studied Lily for a long moment. You're not what I expected, Margaret said finally. What did you expect? A schemer, a user, someone trying to profit from my niece's death. Margaret smiled sadly. But you're not, are you? No. You love him. It wasn't a question, but Lily answered anyway. Yes. Margaret nodded. Elena loved him too. But their marriage wasn't perfect. Richard is intense, driven. He can't separate his identity from his work. Elena struggled with that. She wanted more time with him. She wanted him, not the billionaire, not the businessman, just Richard. Margaret reached across the table and took Lily's hand. At the end, before she died, Elena and I talked. She said something I've never forgotten. I love him, but I don't know if love is enough when someone can't see you. Lily felt tears pricking her eyes. That's how I feel. I know, I can see it. Margaret squeezed her hand. But here's what I came to tell you. Elena wouldn't want Richard to be alone forever, and she wouldn't want him to make the same mistakes with someone new. If you stay with him, Lily, you have to demand better. You have to make him see you, really see you, or it'll end the same way. What if he can't? Then you walk away because you deserve someone who sees you first, not second. Not after grief, not after guilt, first. They talked for another hour. Margaret shared stories of Elena, her humor, her kindness, her flaws. By the end, Lily felt like she understood the woman whose shadow she'd been living in. Elena had been human, complicated, not perfect, and neither was Richard. The question was, could Lily accept that and still build something real? That night, Lily went to Richard's penthouse. He answered the door, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Lily, we need to talk. They sat in his living room, sleek, modern, impersonal. Lily noticed there were no photos of Elena here, no shrine. I met with Margaret, Lily began. Richard paled. What did she say? The truth. That your marriage wasn't perfect, that you and Elena struggled, that she felt invisible. Lily met his eyes. And that I deserve better than being your second chance to get it right. Richard nodded slowly. She's right. I know she is. But here's the thing, Richard. I don't want to be your do-over. I don't want to be the woman who fixes your mistakes. Her voice broke. I want to be the woman you choose. Not because I look like Elena, not because I'm helping you heal, but because I'm me. Because you love me for who I am, not who you need me to be. I do. Do you? Lily interrupted. Because 3 days ago, you couldn't answer that question. You didn't know if you were seeing me or trying to recreate her. And Richard, I can't live in that uncertainty. I won't. Richard stood, crossed to the window. After Elena died, I was lost. Completely, utterly lost. I built this empire thinking it would fill the void, but it just made it worse. Then you walked into my office, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt something other than grief. Because I looked like her. At first, yes, but Lily, he turned to face her. Somewhere along the way, that changed. You challenged me, made me laugh, made me want to be better, and I realized I wasn't mourning Elena anymore. I was falling in love with you. But you still don't know. I do know. Richard crossed to her, kneeling so they were eye level. I've spent the last 3 days in intensive therapy. I've talked about Elena, about our marriage, about my guilt. And I've realized something. I loved Elena, but we weren't right for each other. We wanted different things, and I failed her by refusing to see that. Tears streamed down Lily's face. With you, it's different. You're not asking me to be someone I'm not. You're asking me to be present, to choose you, to see you. Richard took her hands. And I do, Lily. I see you. Not Elena, not a ghost, not a replacement. I see Lily Rivers, brilliant, stubborn, compassionate, and I'm choosing you. Every single day, I'm choosing you. Lily searched his face, looking for doubt, for uncertainty. She found none. Promise me, she whispered. Promise me that if you ever start seeing her instead of me, you'll tell me. You won't let me live in a lie. I promise. And promise me you'll keep going to therapy. Keep working on yourself. I promise. Lily leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. Okay. Okay? Okay. We try. For real this time. Richard pulled her into his arms, and Lily let herself believe, really believe, that maybe they could make this work. Going public was different than going viral. The viral moment had happened to them, unwanted, uncontrolled, a media-feeding frenzy that painted them as either tragic or predatory depending on which headline you read. Going public was a choice. Richard and Lily gave one interview, just one, to a respected journalist named Sarah Chin who'd built her career on nuanced, long-form profiles rather than clickbait scandals. They sat together on a couch in Richard's office, their hands clasped between them, and they told the whole story. The uncomfortable beginning, the resemblance, the grief, the guilt, the slow transformation from employer-employee to something real. I'm not proud of how this started, Richard said on camera. I was drowning in grief, and I grabbed onto something that felt like a lifeline. That was wrong. But people in pain do desperate things, Lily added, and I could have walked away at any point. I stayed because I saw someone worth saving, worth knowing. When did it become real? Sarah asked. Richard and Lily looked at each other. For me, Lily said, it was when he stopped looking past me and started actually seeing me. When he laughed at something I said, not something Elena would have said, but something uniquely me, and I realized he was present, really present. For me, Richard said quietly, it was when she threatened to quit unless I got therapy. Elena never pushed me like that. She accepted my workaholic tendencies, my emotional distance. Lily refused to. She demanded better. That's when I knew she wasn't a replacement. She was something entirely new. The interview aired on a Sunday night. By Monday morning, the narrative had shifted again. The Atlantic ran a piece titled, The Psychology of Grief and Second Chances. Psychology Today published an essay by 3 therapists analyzing whether Richard's behavior was manipulative or simply human. TikTok exploded with stories from people who'd lost partners and found love again in unexpected places. The hashtag Second Chance @love trended for 3 days, but not everyone was convinced. Week 6. The email came from a lawyer. Elena's parents were suing Richard for emotional distress and defamation of their daughter's memory. The lawsuit claimed that Richard's relationship with Lily and his public statements about his marriage to Elena had caused the family irreparable harm. This is insane, Lily said, reading the legal documents in Richard's office. They're suing you for falling in love again? They're grieving, Richard said, though his jaw was tight. They lost their daughter. Seeing me with you, someone who looks like her, it's painful for them. So what do? We fight it, or... Richard paused. We meet with them, face to face. Elena's parents, Robert and Catherine Hartley, agreed to meet at a neutral location, a private room in a Manhattan hotel. Lily wanted to go alone, to spare Richard the pain. Richard refused. We do this together, he said. That's the whole point. They arrived early. Robert and Catherine were already there. Late 60s, well-dressed, grief etched into every line of their faces. The moment Catherine saw Lily, she gasped. My God, she whispered, it's like seeing her again. Mrs. Hartley? Lily began. Don't... Catherine held up a hand, tears streaming down her face. Don't say anything. I know what you're going to say. That you're not her. That you're your own person. But looking at you, it's like she never died. Like we could get her back if we just... Her voice broke. Robert put an arm around his wife. We didn't come here to attack you. he said to Lily. We came because we needed to understand why Richard would do this to Elena's memory, why he would replace her so quickly. I didn't replace her, Richard said firmly. I could never replace her. Then what is this? Catherine demanded, gesturing at Lily. What do you call this? A second chance, Richard said. At happiness, at love, at getting it right this time. Getting it right? Robert's voice rose. Are you saying you got it wrong with Elena? Yes. Richard's answer was quiet but definitive. I loved your daughter, but I failed her. I worked too much. I was emotionally unavailable. I took her for granted, and I can't change that now. I can't go back and be the husband she deserved. All I can do is learn from those mistakes and try to be better. Catherine was sobbing now. She loved you so much. I know, and I loved her, but love wasn't enough when I couldn't show up for her, couldn't see her. Richard looked at Lily. With Lily, I'm trying to do better, to be present, to not make the same mistakes. But she looks just like her, Catherine whispered. I know, Lily said gently, and I'm sorry. I know how painful that must be for you, but I didn't choose to look like Elena. I didn't scheme or manipulate my way into Richard's life. I just existed. And yes, he hired me for the wrong reasons. But what we've built since then, that's real. That's ours. Robert studied them both for a long moment. How do we know this isn't just Richard using you as a replacement? How do we know he's actually moved on? You don't, Richard admitted. Just like we don't know if what we have will last. We're taking a risk, but we're doing it with open eyes, with honesty, and with professional help. I'm in therapy 3 times a week. We're building something based on who we actually are, not who I wish she could be. Catherine wiped her eyes. I want to believe you. I want to believe our daughter's death wasn't meaningless, that you didn't just replace her like a piece of furniture. She could never be replaced, Richard said, his voice thick with emotion. Elena was unique, irreplaceable, but she's gone. And I have a choice. Spend the rest of my life alone, trapped in grief, or try to find happiness again. He paused. I think Elena would want me to try. She would, Catherine said quietly. She always wanted you to be happy. Even when you weren't giving her what she needed, she wanted you to find peace. The room fell silent. Finally, Robert spoke. We'll drop the lawsuit, but on one condition. Name it, Richard said. You establish a foundation in Elena's name, something that helps widows and widowers access grief counseling and therapy. Turn this, he gestured between Richard and Lily, into something that helps others. Richard nodded immediately. Done. We'll announce it next week. Catherine stood and walked over to Lily. She studied her face, the same eyes as Elena's, the same bone structure, and then did something unexpected. She hugged her. I don't know if I can ever fully accept this, Catherine whispered, but I see that you're trying, that you're not just using him, and maybe that's enough. Lily hugged her back, tears streaming down her own face. I'll take care of him, I promise. Make him take care of you too. That's what Elena couldn't do. 3 months later, the Elena Hartley Foundation launched with a gala at the Museum of Modern Art. 200 guests attended, grief counselors, therapists, widows and widowers, and supporters who believed in the mission. Lily stood at the podium in a navy dress, Richard beside her. 3 months ago, she began, the world thought they knew our story. They saw the headlines, read the gossip, and made their judgments. Some of those judgments were fair. The beginning of our relationship was messy, complicated, and born from pain. She paused, looking out at the audience. But here's what the headlines didn't show. The work, the therapy, the hard conversations, the moments when we had to look at each other and ask, is this real? Is this healthy? Are we building something worth keeping? Richard took her hand. The Elena Hartley Foundation excelled because we believe no one should navigate grief alone, Lily continued. No one should feel so lost that they make desperate choices. No one should feel guilty for wanting to love again. Grief is not something you get over. It's something you learn to live with. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you find someone who helps you carry it. The audience applauded. Lily stepped back and Richard took the microphone. My late wife, Elena, was an extraordinary woman, Richard said. She was kind, patient, and she deserved better than what I gave her. I can't change the past, but I can honor her memory by helping others avoid the mistakes I made, by encouraging people to be present, to see their partners, to choose love over work, connection over ambition. He looked at Lily, And I can be honest about the fact that sometimes second chances come in unexpected forms. Lily didn't erase Elena from my life. She helped me finally process that loss so I could move forward. That's not betrayal, that's healing. More applause. As they left the stage together, Lily felt something shift. The weight she'd been carrying, the judgment, the doubt, the fear that she'd always be seen as a replacement, it lifted slightly. She would never fully escape the comparisons. People would always whisper, always wonder, but she was learning to live with it. 6 months later, Richard and Lily sat in their therapist's office, couples counseling, something Richard had suggested and Lily had enthusiastically agreed to. Dr. Monica Reeves was in her 50s, calm and insightful. She'd been working with them for 2 months. So, Dr. Reeves said, Richard, you mentioned last session that you've been having dreams about Elena again. Tell me about that. Richard shifted uncomfortably. They're not bad dreams, just memories. Things we did together, places we went. And how does that make you feel? Guilty, Richard admitted. Like I'm betraying Lily by still thinking about Elena. Lily reached over and took his hand. You're allowed to remember her, Richard. She was part of your life for 7 years. I don't expect you to erase that. But doesn't it bother you? Richard asked. Sometimes, Lily said honestly, when you get that distant look and I know you're thinking about her. But then you come back to me. You choose to be present. That's what matters. Dr. Reeves nodded. Lily, you've mentioned feeling insecure about the physical resemblance. Has that improved? Yes and no, Lily said. I've stopped trying to look different. I used to avoid certain hairstyles or clothes because I was afraid they'd remind Richard of her. But now I just dress like me. If there's just overlap, there's overlap. And Richard, when Lily wears something similar to what Elena wore, how do you respond? At first it would hit me, Richard said, this jolt of recognition. But now, he looked at Lily. I see Lily in those clothes, not Elena. The resemblance is just background noise at this point. That's significant progress, Dr. Reeves said. You've both done the work to separate the past from the present, but I want to push on something. Lily, do you believe Richard would have fallen in love with you if you didn't look like Elena? The question hung in the air. Lily had asked herself this 1,000 times. She'd never voiced it out loud. I don't know, she said quietly. Maybe not. Maybe we would have never met. Maybe he would have never noticed me. And how does that make you feel? Like our entire relationship is built on a coincidence. Like I won the lottery by having the right face. Richard turned to her, distressed. Lily, that's not... Let her finish, Dr. Reeves said gently. Lily took a breath. But then I think about everything we've built. The late nights working on the foundation, the arguments we've had and resolved, the way he knows I hate cilantro and always orders my food without it, the way I know he gets anxious before board meetings and needs exactly 3 minutes of silence beforehand. She met Richard's eyes. None of that has anything to do with my face. That's just us. So which is true? Dr. Reeves asked. Are you together because of the resemblance or despite it? Both, Lily and Richard said simultaneously. Then they laughed, a real, genuine laugh that broke the tension. It's both, Lily repeated. The resemblance brought us together, but everything else, our compatibility, our values, our connection, that's what keeps us together. Dr. Reeves smiled. I think you've both found the answer you needed. 1 year later. The proposal happened on an ordinary Tuesday. No fancy restaurant, no elaborate setup. Just Richard and Lily in their shared apartment. They'd moved in together 6 months ago. Cooking dinner. Well, Lily was cooking. Richard was attempting to help and mostly getting in the way. You're doing it wrong, Lily said, watching him mangle the vegetables. I'm doing it my way. Your way is wrong. Richard grinned and kissed her forehead. Noted. They worked in comfortable silence for a while, the kind of silence that only comes with true familiarity. The radio played softly in the background. Outside, the city hummed with evening traffic. Lily, Richard said suddenly. Marry me. Lily looked up from the stove. What? Richard wasn't holding a ring, wasn't on one knee. He just stood there in jeans and a t-shirt, covered in flour from his failed attempt at breading chicken, looking at her like she was the most important thing in the world. Marry me, he repeated. I don't have a speech prepared. I don't have a ring. Yet I'll get one, whatever you want. But I woke up this morning and realized I want to spend every day like this. Cooking terrible dinners, arguing about vegetables, building a life with you. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Richard, I know the optics are complicated. I know people will always whisper about how we started, but I don't care anymore. I love you. Not because you look like anyone else. Not because you're helping me heal. But because you're you. Because you make me laugh. Because you challenge me. Because you see me, the real me, flaws and all, and you choose to stay anyway. You're really bad at romantic gestures, Lily said, wiping her eyes. I know, I'm working on it. And you're definitely going to burn that.
Chicken. Probably. Lily walked over to him, turning off the stove on her way. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Even though you can't cook. Even though you work too much. Even though the world thinks our relationship is weird. Richard pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. I promise to keep working on myself. To stay in therapy. To choose you every single day. I know you will. And I promise to keep calling you out when you're being ridiculous. To remind you when you're working too much. To be my own person, not anyone else's shadow. They kissed, and in that moment, everything else fell away. The past, the judgment, the complicated beginning. All that remained was them. The wedding, 6 months later. They got married in the same garden where Richard and Elena had wed 13 years earlier. It was a controversial choice. Some thought it was romantic, reclaiming a space of loss and turning it into a place of new beginnings. Others thought it was disrespectful, but Richard and Elena's parents had suggested it. Elena would want this space to be filled with joy again, Catherine had said. She wouldn't want it to be a shrine to grief. So on a perfect October afternoon, with 200 guests and the press kept at a respectful distance, Lily Rivers walked down an aisle lined with white roses. She wore a dress that was nothing like Elena's wedding dress. Modern, sleek, uniquely hers. Her hair was down in loose waves. She stopped trying to look different months ago. She was just Lily, and that was enough. Richard waited at the altar, tears already streaming down his face. When she reached him, he whispered, "You're beautiful." "You're crying." "I know. I'm working on being more emotionally available." Lily laughed, and the guests laughed with her. The ceremony was simple. They'd written their own vows. "Lily," Richard began, voice shaking slightly, "when I met you, I was lost. Drowning in grief and guilt and loneliness. You didn't save me. I had to save myself. But you stood beside me while I did the work. You challenged me, pushed me, refused to let me hide behind my pain." He paused, collecting himself. "I can't promise I'll never think about the past. I can't promise I'll never make mistakes. But I can promise that when I look at you, I see my future. I see the woman I choose. Every single day, I choose you." Lily's own tears were flowing freely now. "Richard," she said, "our story isn't simple. It's messy and complicated and sometimes uncomfortable. People will always question how we started, and that's okay, because I know the truth. I know that what we have is real." She reached out and took both his hands. "You're not perfect. You work too much. You get lost in your own head. Sometimes you need to be reminded to eat or sleep or take a break. But you're also kind, generous, capable of profound growth. You've done the work to heal, to change, to Become someone who can truly be present. Her voice grew stronger. I'm not her. I will never be her. But I don't need to be. Because you love me for who I am. Stubborn, opinionated, occasionally ridiculous me. And I love you for who you are. Workaholic, emotionally stunted but trying, occasionally ridiculous you. We're perfectly imperfect together. And that's more than enough. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife. When Richard kissed Lily, the guests erupted in applause. But in that moment, there were only two people in the world. Two imperfect people who'd found each other in the messiest way possible and chosen to build something beautiful anyway. 2 years later. The documentary premiered at Sundance. It was called Second Chances, A Love Story, and it followed Richard and Lily over 2 years, from the scandal to the foundation to the wedding and beyond. The filmmaker, a documentary veteran named James Park, had wanted to tell their story in full complexity. No sanitizing, no simplification. He interviewed Richard and Lily, Elena's parents, Richard's therapist, with permission, employees at Cole Industries, people who'd been helped by the Elena Hartley Foundation, and he'd uncovered something unexpected. In the final 20 minutes of the documentary, James revealed research he'd done on the phenomenon of people resembling each other. He'd found 12 other cases of widows or widowers who'd ended up in relationships with people who resembled their late partners. Most of those relationships had failed. The couples couldn't escape the shadow of the resemblance, but 3 had succeeded, and when James interviewed those couples, a pattern emerged. The relationships that worked were the ones where both people did the work, where they went to therapy, where they were honest about the complexity, where they refused to pretend the resemblance didn't matter while also refusing to let it define them. What Richard and Lily have done, one therapist said in the documentary, is remarkable. They've taken something that could have been incredibly toxic and turned it into something healthy by being brutally honest about it. That's rare. The documentary ended with Lily and Richard in their apartment 2 years after the wedding. "Do you ever regret it?" James asked from behind the camera. "Regret how this started?" Lily and Richard looked at each other. "I regret the pain it caused people," Richard said. "Elena's family, Lily, even myself. I regret not dealing with my grief in healthier ways initially. But do I regret meeting Lily? Falling in love with her?" He shook his head. "Never." "What about you, Lily?" James asked. "Do you ever wish you'd walked away? That you'd never taken that job?" Lily was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd never met Richard, if I'd taken a different job, met someone else, built a different life." Richard's expression flickered with, hurt. Lily squeezed his hand. "But then I think about everything we've built, the foundation that's helped thousands of people, the work we've both done to become better versions of ourselves, the love we've found, messy and complicated and real. And I realize I wouldn't trade this for anything." "Even though people will always question it?" James asked. "Even though," Lily confirmed, "because I know the truth. We know the truth. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters." The final shot of the documentary was Richard and Lily walking through Central Park, hand in hand. The camera pulled back, showing them as just 2 people among thousands. Not a scandal, not a controversy, just 2 people in love. The screen faded to black and text appeared. The Elena Hartley Foundation has helped over 15,000 people access grief counseling and therapy. Richard and Lily continue to run it together. They welcomed their first child, a daughter named Hope, in 2027. Elena's parents remain involved in the foundation and have developed a close relationship with Lily. Richard has reduced his work hours by 40% and now prioritizes family time. He continues therapy twice monthly. Lily published a memoir about their experience titled Second Sight: Learning to Love Beyond Resemblance. It became a New York Times bestseller and has helped countless people navigate complicated relationships. When asked if she feels like she's living in Elena's shadow, Lily's response is always the same. "I'm not in her shadow. I'm in my own light. And sometimes that light illuminates paths neither of us could have walked alone." 5 years later, final scene. Lily sat in the garden where she'd married Richard, watching their 3-year-old daughter Hope chase butterflies through the rose bushes. Richard was at a work call inside, visible through the window. Even now, he sometimes got too absorbed in work, but he learned to recognize it, to pull himself back. Catherine Hartley, Elena's mother, sat beside Lily on the bench. "She has your eyes," Catherine said, watching Hope. "She has Elena's eyes, too," Lily said gently. "Same shape." Catherine nodded. "I see it. I see both of you in her. And I see Richard's determination." She smiled. "That child is going to be a force of nature." They sat in comfortable silence. "I'm glad you're part of our family," Catherine said finally. "I fought it for so long, resented it, but watching you and Richard build this life, watching you honor Elena's memory while also being wholly yourself, it's taught me something." "What's that?" "That love doesn't end. It transforms. Elena loved Richard. Richard loved Elena. That love created something beautiful, a foundation, a family legacy, a commitment to helping others. And now you love Richard, and that love is creating something beautiful too. Different, but equally valuable." Lily felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you. That means everything. I'll never—" "Stop missing my daughter," Catherine said. "But I'm grateful for you, for what you've brought to Richard's life, to all our lives." Hope ran over, breathless and grass-stained. "Mama, Gamma, I caught a butterfly." She opened her small hands to reveal nothing. "It must have flown away, sweet girl," Lily said, laughing. "I'll catch another one," Hope declared, running off again. Richard emerged from the house, call finished, and walked over. He kissed Lily, then sat beside her. "What did I miss?" "Your daughter is a butterfly hunter now," Lily said. "She's not very good at it," Catherine added with a smile. They watched Hope play, three people who'd navigated impossible grief and complicated love and emerged on the other side. Not unscathed, not perfect, but together. "Do you ever wonder," Richard said quietly, "what Elena would think of all this?" Catherine considered. "I think she'd be surprised. Maybe a little hurt at first, but ultimately I think she'd be proud. Proud that you didn't let grief destroy you. Proud that you built something meaningful from the pain. Proud that you found someone strong enough to love you despite everything." Richard nodded, eyes glistening. Lily leaned her head on his shoulder. "We don't have to have all the answers. We just have to keep showing up. Every single day," Richard agreed. Hope ran over again, this time with an actual butterfly perched on her finger. "Look, I didn't catch it. It landed on me." The butterfly sat there for a moment, wings slowly opening and closing in the afternoon sun. Then it flew away, dancing through the air before disappearing over the garden wall. Hope watched it go with wonder in her eyes. "It's free now," she said solemnly. Lily caught Richard's eye. He squeezed her hand. "Yes," Lily said softly, "it's free." And in the garden where grief had once lived, where memories both painful and beautiful intertwined like the roses climbing the trellis, a family sat together in the golden afternoon light, not replacing the past, not erasing it, but building something new alongside it. A second chance at love, a second chance at life. And the wisdom to know that sometimes the most beautiful stories are the ones that begin in the most unexpected ways. If you stayed till now, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and leave us a comment. This helps us know you like our videos and encourages us to do more. Until next video, remember, true love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone imperfect and choosing them anyway. It's about doing the work, having the hard conversations, and building something real even when the world is watching. Richard and Lily's story isn't a fairy tale. It's something better. It's real. And in the end, that's all any of us can hope for.